They can stamp my passport, deny it, revoke it, shred it, burn it to ash, but they will never erase me. Because the passport is paper, fragile, temporary, a mere bureaucratic bookmark in a much larger story. The mosaic is me, carved from Mumbai streets, colored with Botswana slang, lit with Costa Rican rhythms. I am fragments stitched together, not flattened into one box. And here's the truth. If globalization keeps reducing us to paper, it will erase every unrecorded song, every unpronounced name, and every story that you never archived. Sometimes I think of my own childhood, lying in bed, my grandmother's lullabies floating around me, stories of kings, queens, and magical creatures. Those weren't just bedtime stories. They were threads of tradition, weaving lessons from every festival and ritual. I vividly remembered the overwhelming smell of spices in her kitchen, engulfed in sensory overload only possible there. Whenever I think of home, my mind drifts first to Mumbai, where every corner hums with memory and motion. When you step foot into Mumbai, you're welcomed by a riot of colors spilling through her blazing markets and murals. She hums symphonies of sounds, the chatter of crowds, the blare of autos, and her soft EDTs of jasmine that lingers long after you've left. Her incredible personality is hard to mimic. She is her own person, and all this time I've been trying to mold her into a canvas where she does not belong. She deserves to exist untouched, not washed away by the tides of my other identities. Yet her recipes and wisdom, passed down from generations, are disappearing. UNESCO estimates that India alone has over 197 living languages at risk. Stories embedded in them dying quietly. Entire ways of thinking, celebrating, and surviving are being flattened. Why can't we allow them to exist within us, not as a mixture, but as separate entities? Globalization isn't just changing the skyline of our cities. It's erasing the very textures of our past. And if we don't fight to remember, to retell, to live these stories, they won't just vanish from India, they'll vanish from us. Now, when it comes to my second home, I'd like to talk about Botswana. Unlike Mumbai, with all of its beautiful chaos, Botswana offers peace and solace. At first, it felt like stepping into another world. The streets weren't clogged with cars. The air was quiet but alive with nature. People didn't rush from one place to another, but they paused. They talked. They shared stories. It blew my mind. Life wasn't about appearances or checklists. People laughed on street corners, shared genuine meals with neighbors they barely knew. Even random strangers would stop to talk, to ask how you were doing, to really connect. It felt whole in a way I'd never known before, filled with a serenity I'll always be grateful for. You learned about someone's life not through Instagram highlights, but by sitting with them, hearing their stories, feeling their energy, and carrying a piece of it long after. A quiet serenity lingered, weaving the fraying threads of society together. And I learned so much. I realized that identity isn't about copying trends or fitting in. It's simply about showing up as yourself. Your accent might change, or even your clothing. Mine did, and I don't regret it. Because that's how I noticed the little things, how people greet each other, the rhythm in their conversations, the way my community would celebrate the moments that mattered. Music like Amapiano from South Africa or the local food in Botswana carried life in ways that etched themselves in me for years to come. But here's the twist. After a while, the warmth of Botswana made me ask myself a question my conscience had been quietly avoiding. Where do I actually belong? No one tells you that moving feels like a quiet kind of exile. They promise adventure, new experiences, languages, and friends, but forget to mention the silence that creeps in when you realize you don't sound like anyone anymore. In India, a simple "you sound different now" cuts deep, making me feel like my own tongue has betrayed me. Like my accent was proof that I was drifting too far from home. The streets that once raided me began to feel foreign, like I wasn't one of them anymore. And in Botswana, it was no different, only inverted. No matter how much slang I learned or how easily I laughed with friends, I was still the Indian kid. My roots louder than my voice, my skin a permanent badge of difference I could never peel off. Between two worlds, I belong to neither, because once you move abroad, something shifts. You become a foreigner everywhere, in every country, even the one you came from. Do you know how heavy that feels? To move across 3 continents, 3 homes, 3 different versions of yourself, and still feel like you're dragging a suitcase full of invisible question marks. To laugh on the inside, but still feel like you belong nowhere. Where do I belong? Who really claims me? Because passport doesn't mean belonging. A passport is paper. It can stamp you in, and it can stamp you out, but it can never stamp you whole. And at the tender age of 16, when all you want is to be seen, not just tolerated, that truth doesn't just sting, it breaks you. When I spoke, my voice carried the echo of every accent I had ever tried to wear. Sometimes I wondered, if I'm from everywhere, am I really from anywhere? If I belong to all, do I belong to none? And the more I tried to belong, the more I felt myself disappear. Like a ghost drifting through languages, cultures, and memories, yet never fully being a part of any one of them. It hurts. It ached in ways I couldn't name. And yet, in that same ache, I began to understand something profound. This spilling, this cracking, this feeling of being unclaimed. That is what makes a mosaic alive. The tension, the imperfection, it all fuels the beauty of being stitched together from everything I've seen, smelt, tasted, and lived. Maybe being a foreigner everywhere isn't exile, it's freedom. If you don't belong to one place or label, you can belong to many. Yes, I was the foreigner everywhere, but maybe that also meant I was a citizen of more than just one world. So I stopped searching for a place to belong and started creating spaces where others could belong too. Not giant stages or formal institutions, but real human spaces. Spaces where stories were shared, where laughter bounced off walls instead of being swallowed by silence. I remember sitting on a patch of grass with my friends from all around the world, swapping childhood memories and food secrets. My grandma's turmeric milk recipe, their own family dishes. We weren't only talking about brands, exams, or apps. We were talking about life, real life, the things that make us who we are. In those conversations, what would one realize, you may wonder? Well, personally, I realized that belonging isn't about being accepted by one culture. It's about honoring the pieces of every culture you carry and letting others honor theirs too. I started small, bonding together. We would laugh at our broken accents, celebrate the weird little habits we picked up from home. And slowly, everyone started sharing their own fragments of identity. Someone would bring a family recipe, another would share a song from home, someone else, a childhood memory. It wasn't just fun, it was survival. It was a rebellion against erasure. And that's when I understood something essential. These spaces harbor more than just memories. They're proof that we matter beyond the borders and labels the world tries to impose upon us. Each shared story, each laugh, and each taste is a spark that resists erasure, ignites connection, and reminds us that we are alive, fully and fiercely. So here's my invitation to you, to everyone listening. The next time you hear a language you don't understand, don't turn away. Listen. The next time someone shares a story, honor it. Ask questions. Learn their recipe or rhythm, or even their memory. Because every time we share and protect these fragments, we build a world that remembers instead of forgets. A world where identity isn't something to be proven, but something to be shared. And that's how we fight erasure. Not with walls or passports, but with presence, curiosity, and care. People deserve to see you as who you are. Not a translation, not a filtered version, but just you. Layered, unfinished, real. Because that honesty is what keeps the mosaic alive. So keep piecing it together, slowly, patiently, accepting that you're not from one place, but from all the places that have shaped you. You don't need to choose. The puzzle doesn't have to be perfect to be whole. Because the world can try to reduce us to stamps, visas, or papers, but it can never touch the life we breathe into the stories we carry. These fragments, however, they are not temporary. They are fire, and fire survives even in the harshest of winds. So cling onto them, share them, protect them, and let them light the way for everyone who feels like they don't belong anywhere. At the end of the day, passports expire, paper crumbles, stamps disappear, but mosaics, they don't, and neither do you. Thank you.